Alrighty, Chapter 6.
Chapter 6, the Hogwarts Azkaban Outreach Association. God, we're so stupid. Harry woke the next morning after a very unpleasant dream of being chased by Luna, Snape, and Ginny Weasley, who had been attempting to beat him with his own broomstick.
Harry pulled himself up in his bed groggily and yawned. It was 8:30.
Ron! Screamed Harry. We're late for charms!
Harry leapt out of his bed and pulled Ron's curtains aside.
Ah! He screamed, falling backwards, shielding his eyes from the horrible sight which lay before him.
Harry! Barked Ron, pulling his sheet over his bare chest and shoulders. Hermione sat up next to him, quite unabashed, wearing Ron's old faded t-shirt.
Harry, she said, sounding a bit like Mrs. Weasley, what are you doing?
What do you two think you're doing? Have you both lost your minds? You're both in enough trouble as it is without sneaking into each other's rooms. Besides, we're late for charms.
No! Screeched Hermione. She looked as if she was going to move, then thought the better of it. Harry, get out!
I'm still in my pajamas. What am I?
I'll be out in just a second. Go!
Harry fumed as he left the room, kicking the door on the way out. He felt very much like kicking, hitting, or destroying something as he listened to them talk quietly to each other, laughing occasionally. 2 weeks ago, he didn't even know they were dating, and now they suddenly had an entire world between just the two of them.
Thank you, Harry, she said, followed closely by Ron. He scowled at both of them and slammed the door.
Harry changed slowly. He was not really intending to show up to charms at all. He'd had Ron and Hermione. He'd had all of Ron and Hermione he could stand for a month. He searched for his charms book slowly, although he always suspected it to be under his bed, and it was. He took a long time searching around for his shoes, which were buried beneath his potions book and a pile of old shirts.
Finally, when it was time for herbology, he started down towards the common room. So he just skipped class. Again, a whole mood.
When you've had enough of your college shit.
Done.
Just done. That is me. Some days at college, I'm just like, fuck this. Fuck all of this. Yeah. Staying in the bistro. Fuck you. No, said a female voice. That's not what I heard. Seamus told me that he was dating Parvati, or was it Padma? Oh, I can't remember, too.
Well, said what sounded like Romilda Vane's voice, I can't say it would surprise me in the least. He's not exactly the brightest boy, is he?
Harry stopped and listened.
Sorry. I don't know, said the other girl. We don't exactly talk.
How could you know Jenny and not know him too?
Harry guessed that the other girl shrugged.
I don't know, but Harry seems to like him, and if Harry...
Sorry, I keep losing my spot. Oh, come on, said the other girl. You don't still like Harry, do you?
Shut up! You're the one who had a crush on Dean. Like that ever happened, Ginny'd have your insides for dinner.
The other girl retorted bitterly, and he heard them both step through the portrait hole, sorry.
Harry tried his best not to think it, but the name was already creeping into his mind. Ron? No! Ron wouldn't! Ron's with Hermione!
He shook his head and walked out the door, resolving to talk to Ron first before he did anything else. That was, if he could get him away from Hermione.
Harry went to herbology and ignored people's stares and threw rid of whispering. When class was over, he went to the Great Hall and found Ron and Hermione, who were talking to each other in a way that was not at all secretive. Instead, they seemed to be having a normal conversation, the sort they hadn't been able to have for what seemed like ages.
Hi, Harry, said Ron as he sat down. What happened to you in Charms?
Harry shrugged. Didn't feel up to it, I guess.
What a load of rubbish!
Harry, Hermione, Ron, and a number of people turned to look at Ginny, who was standing opposite Dean in a path of a crowd of Hufflepuffs who were all watching rudely. Ginny was red in the face and was standing in a way reminiscent of Miss Weasley. She looked vivid.
Dean, on the other hand, was wearing a blank expression. Harry decided to take this for fright.
Parvati? Parvati Patel?
Once again, Ginny's wand arm was twitching next to her back partner. This time, she went for it.
Ridicus Mipra! She shouted. McGonagall leapt to her feet, shouting something. Dean flew backward and hit Seamus. They both fell to the ground with a crash.
Hey! Shouted Parvati. She sank back as Ginny turned on her eyes wide and terrifying. It wasn't like Ginny at all.
Jedi! No!
Lord. I need you to get that out of your system.
It's gonna be the running gag. All of my videos have a running gag.
Lord.
Shouted Harry. Ron sprang forward and pulled her back. Snape and McGonagall, who were both sprinting towards the scene, where Neville was helping Dean up, and Ron and Harry were both restraining Ginny, who was nearly foaming at the mouth.
McGonagall was livid. Resist it.
And the temptation is...
I know. Resist. Be strong. Do you need me to say it? Will that help?
Nah, I got it. Hang on. Anyway. Ginny Weasley, she barked. I expected better than that out of you.
Ginny was now glaring at McGonagall, but it was almost like she didn't know she was there.
Longbottom Finnegan, take Mr. Thomas to the hospital wing.
That's a good name.
Take Mr. Thomas to the hospital wing immediately. Potter, Weasley, take this one to my office and stay there.
It's a good Snape. I'm proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
Harry and Ron looked at each other. Ginny had kind of collapsed in their arms. She was shaking and looking from side to side, as if she didn't quite remember what had happened.
Harry and Ron did what they were told and walked down the corridor with Ginny propped up between them. She wasn't saying anything. She only stared, dazed.
Mr. Potter, said McGonagall from behind, I think it would be best if you took Ginny to the hospital.
But Snape told us to...
I am well aware of what Professor Snape told you, Mr. Potter. Now do what I told you, she snapped, and walking away from them.
Ginny drooped on Harry's shoulder. She was looking at Professor McGonagall. Since they never really paid attention to Snape's orders anyway, they followed after her.
When they entered the hospital wing, a big curtain was set up that Madame Pomfrey came bustling through.
Oh, here's the one who...
Mr. Weasley, I told you to take the girl up to my office. That spat Snake, looking angry.
I told them to come. I felt it was best to have Miss Weasley looked over.
Harry and Ron helped Ginny into the nearest bed. She laid down. Her eyes were still wide and terrified, and she looked sick.
You're really not under the authority to disregard my orders, said Snape, sneering. McGonagall glared at him.
Are you going to fire me, Severus? Asked McGonagall. Poppy, can you please take a look at Miss Weasley?
Madame Pomfrey looked at the girl disapprovingly, but checked her over anyway.
McGonagall shot Harry a dirty look. You two
may go.
Ron opened his mouth to protest.
Now, Mr. Weasley.
Both Harry and Ron turned to leave, rolling their eyes. When they appeared on the other side of the door, Neville was there, staring blankly at them.
What are you doing here? Asked Ron accusingly. Navel blinked and said nothing. Harry and Ron continued the walk.
What do you think that was all about? Asked Ron, frowning. Harry had an idea, but he didn't want to say anything.
Dean was cheating on Jenny with Parvati, said Navel, racing after them.
Ron stopped and glared at Neville. What?
Well, Icicle...
What? Asked Harry. Oh, you're about to get this ridiculous monologue. I apologize.
Well, let me just take a drink of my fruit-flavored, non-sponsored water.
Some labelless fruity water.
Oh, you nearly made me ink. I was gonna get that shit all over my desk and I was gonna be mad. Alright. Used to be voice actor, let's figure this shit out. Icicle, Draco's new girlfriend from Hufflepuff. Anyway, Parvati told Icicle, Icicle told Draco, who told Pansy, who asked Lavender, who didn't know, who asked Justin Finchley, who had walked in on them snogging the other day. Justin told Hannah Abbott, who told Susan Bones, who told Colin and Venus Gravy, who went back to Madam Hooch, who told McGonagall, of course, and McGonagall told Percy, who sent a letter to Fred. George told Miss Weasley, and she said Mr. Weasley now, and he told Tom from the Leaky Cauldron. When Tom saw Hagrid, he told him, and Hagrid told Madame Rosmerta, who told Lucius Malfoy, who told me.
Ron blinked.
Why were you talking to Lucius Malfoy?
Oh, said Neville.
And she cut out.
Yeah. Begging them to change their ways.
You're gonna have to reread that sentence because you cut out just as you were saying it.
Okay. Oh, said Neville. The Hogwarts Azkaban Outreach Association explained. We write letters to lonely Azkaban prisoners, begging them to change their ways.
Ron blinked again.
Your pen pals with Lucius Malfoy? Asked Ron, giving him a dirty look.
How long has this been going on?
Neville shrugged. No one knows for sure. Lucius only found out 3 days ago from Adolphus.
How did Rodolphe...
Ron looked angry suddenly.
Dean Thomas was cheating on my sister, he demanded. He turned sharply, but Harry caught him.
Okay, you cut out there, FYI.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Dean Thomas was cheating on my sister, he demanded. He turned around sharply, but Harry caught him.
Ron, don't. That's just gonna make Jenny more upset.
They walked back to the common room while Ron harped about Dean and how dead he was going to be as soon as Madame Pomfrey let him into the hospital wing. When they arrived back in the common room, everyone was still sitting up talking about Ginny Weasley and Hermione. And Hermione ran into Ron's arms like he was some sort of horrible, tragic hero.
Harry, Ron, and Hermione were the only ones who sat up, waiting for Ginny to return. They understood she had done something pretty wrong, but it wasn't any worse than what anyone else had done before. After all, she'd used an unforgivable course, but she settled for one of the nice, legal ones.
It wasn't until close to 4 a.m. when McGonagall suddenly appeared, creaking through the door of the portrait hole loudly. They were all suddenly wrenched out of their sleep.
McGonagall motioned for all of them to follow her, and they stepped out after her, all tired and suddenly very confused.
Jesus Christ.
Bravo on the monologue.
I mean, okay, so I read 9x's fanfics. Me being able to pen an entire paragraph in under a certain time is my specialty.
Yeah, I don't believe in destiny, I just do what's best for me. Don't listen to my enemies, they're just full of jealousy. Yeah, this legacy, you gon' see what's left of me. You gon' see success in me, you ain't seen the rest of me. I just wanna be the best at what I know, better than the rest, just watch me grow. Put me to the test and watch me go. This is my quest, I'ma make it known. They call me obsessive, oh I know. Call me selective with my notes, call me aggressive with my flow. Call me offensive even though yo, I ain't gonna lie, life's tough. Try to get by, life's rough. Try to do it right, it's not enough. Even though you try, you still mess up. But I'm still gonna fight for what I love, still gonna die for what I love, still gonna try, I won't give up, still gonna fight until I've